Okay, so let's talk about provisioners. Provisioners in Packer are the things that actually run provisioning scripts against your server to install software and configure it as you need it. Now you can see in the documentation here, there's quite a lot of provisioners. Ansible, Chef, File, PowerShell, Normal Shell, Local Shell, Salt, all sorts of good stuff here. Shell is the simplest, and it basically allows you to run scripts, inline or otherwise, on your server to install stuff. So we have here an example of inline, but you can also have a local file that gets run on that server. And of course, there's lots of options here, but let's go ahead and just see an example. So I'll just replace this whole section, including getting rid of the trailing comma here. That's an invalid JSON. So provisioners, it's an array. You'll have multiple provisioners potentially. And we can do of a type shell here, and we can tell it where that script exists. So I'm not doing inline here like we saw in that example. Instead, I'm doing a script that exists locally here that will get run on the server to install stuff. So template directory is actually a variable set by Packer. It'll essentially be the current directory that you're in for Packer, the base level directory where your JSON file or your HCL file is with your configuration. And here it assumes there's a directory named scripts, and in there it assumes there's a script called base.sh. So we can go ahead and make that. We'll do a new directory called scripts. Inside of scripts, we'll make a new file base.sh, and it's going to run shell by default, but we can tell this to run bash by using this type hint here to tell it to run bash on the system. Okay, and then we can tell it to do whatever we want in here. And I'm going to copy and paste some stuff in here. So we're going to set -e. So this bails out with an error code on the first error it hits in the script. We're going to tell it to sleep for 10 seconds because I found that I needed this in order to stop an error when it was installing Ansible here. And you can tell that I'm actually going to install Ansible on the server because we're going to use the Ansible local provisioner later to do more stuff on the server. Export Debian frontend non-interactive, which is a generic flag for Debian and Ubuntu servers to tell it to not prompt me when it's installing stuff. And we'll install Ansible. So apt-get update and apt-get install -y Ansible. And that's all I'm doing in this base shell script, although you could do lots more. You can do anything, of course. Some provisioners are all bash and shell. And in our case, we're going to see a little bit more in that. We'll see how to use bash and shell to do some basic installation. For in our case, we're going to install Ansible. And then we're going to use the Ansible provisioner to install more on the server. So let's actually go ahead and see what this looks like. So I have Packer installed. Packer version, I believe, was 1.66, right? So Packer validates cloudcast.json, and it responded with nothing, which is a good sign, right? There's no errors. It validated cloudcast.json. So we can actually go ahead and run this. How do we do that? So we're going to use the Packer build command. So we could just run Packer build cloudcast.json, but if you recall, we have a variable up here with a no value, infrastructure env. So we're going to set that variable here so that we actually have an infrastructure environment set in our tags and in our names and all that good stuff. So the way to do that is the -var flag, and we'll do infra env equals, in our case, I think we'll do staging. Okay, so now we have the output here about how it is building our Amazon EBS AMI. Now the image it's using as the base AMI is the AMI 07D5 blah, blah, blah. This actually is that same AMI that we found on the Canonical Finder in the previous video. So it did successfully find the AMI that we thought it would use as the base image for our image. And now it's doing all the setup. It's authorized and access to port 22 in the server. So it's going to create security groups for itself to access the server over port 22, which is SSH access. It's creating a new instance with this ID. And it's doing the stuff. Okay, so right now we're seeing the output from that shell provisioner here that installed Ansible. So it's doing the apt-get update command and then the install command. So it's installing Ansible. And once that's finished, it's going to clean everything up and create the AMI for us. So it finished. It's stopping the server. And we can just see that right now in our AWS console. If we go to EC2 dashboard, running, there's going to be nothing running because it's already stopped it. This is an old build for a test run. This is the one it's stopping right now. So it created the instance, it ran it, and now it's stopping it. Creating AMI Cloudcast staging blah, blah, blah app, for instance, the one we just stopped, and AMI has an AMI ID, and we're waiting for the AMI to become ready. So let's head back to our browser here, go to AMIs. We'll see it has created one and now it's pending, right? So we're just waiting for it to become ready, and then it'll finish tasks like giving it a name and adding the tags. Okay, so the AMI is ready. Now it's tagging the snapshot, creating AMI tags, creating snapshot tags, and then terminating the source AWS instance. And we're all done. No volumes to clean up because we have the option to delete the EBS volume on termination. deleting temporary security group, deleting temporary key pair. It's cleaning up after itself so we don't leave any artifacts dangling in our AWS account. And now in US East 2, it has created our new AMI. So we head back over here. We should see that it's now available. Yep. And now we have a new AMI to use to create new servers, either in autoscaling groups or just new servers in general, which is especially handy in Terraform when we use Terraform configuration to generate resources within our AWS account. So that's the shell provisioner. In the next video, I want to show using the Ansible provisioner to show using more advanced provisioners with Packer.